Okay. All right. So, like I said, we are doing discussion number 5 over phylum Cnidaria. So these were 11 of the questions that I kind of culminated into this PowerPoint, and I'm going to talk to you guys about them. There were a few parts in the questions that I saw some misconceptions, so that was where it was really great, where I'm able to clear that up for you guys. So question, oh, great, I get to see my notes this time. That's fun. All right, so question number 1 is, what exactly are zooxanthellae? So the easiest explanation of this is they're single-celled organisms. They're called dinoflagellates, which that's just a fancy term for single-celled organisms. They are photosynthetic, so they need sunlight in order to produce food. And they develop that really good symbiotic relationship with the coral so that they can have shelter by living inside those corals, and then the corals just get the byproducts and the extra food and nutrients, as well as oxygen from the zooxanthellae that live inside their bodies. Really good symbiotic relationship there, and it works for them. And it is what gives them, the coral, their color. So that's the reasons you see the bright pinks, the bright reds, the oranges, the yellows, whatever other colors corals have. They're zooxanthellae to thank for that. Can coral live at the bottom of the ocean? So the answer to that is yes. There was an expedition done by the National Oceanic something, NOAA, whatever the 2 A's stand for. I never know. Atmospheric Association. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. National Oceanic Atmospheric Association. But they did an expedition where they had robots, these like robot scuba things, dive like 15,000 feet below scuba level. So you can only scuba dive down so many feet. I'm pretty sure it's like 30 to 50 feet before it becomes dangerous. And they found this coral species that's called, it's in the Pacific Ocean, but it's called black coral. And this coral is really deep in the ocean, and it doesn't have zooxanthellae because it doesn't have, like, the sunlight doesn't penetrate that deep, so it can't do that process. It is very, very, very cool, and yeah, a little bit different. All right, number 3. Is the GVC interchangeable for the term mouth? The answer is no. The simple answer is no. So GVC stands for gastrovascular cavity. Gastro means stomach. Vascular means like cardiovascular system. So this is an empty opening in all cnidarians, like just an empty space that does both or all the digestion, all of the respiration, all of the circulation of nutrients, and everything. So it's pretty great. The one-stop shop for all of it. And it does have a separate mouth that is different. Question number 4, what would be the effect of all coral reefs dying? The answer is bad things. Billions of creatures of sea life depend on the coral reefs. There's a lot more diversity within the coral reefs than there are in a lot of the oceans. But not only that, there's a lot of like coastal systems and coastal people that rely on the coral reef for tourism, for economics of people, but also like food and providing food for people. So it would be really, really bad. Just terrible. A lot of our oxygen too is also created through that. So just general bad stuff. What eats jellyfish? So if you look at a jellyfish, you're like, there's like nothing to a jellyfish. It's literally like a see-through creature Who would want to eat it? So other jellyfish eat jellyfish, right? Isn't that rude? Like the bigger jellyfishes eat the littler jellyfishes. Like so rude. But also there are some things like swordfish, sea turtles, sharks, and tuna will all also eat different species of jellyfish. Also, I found out when I was looking this up, there are sea anemones that will eat other sea anemones. And I tried to figure out how it would do that. Because I guess it would like slowly like migrate next to another sea anemone and they'll like attack it and then like pick it up and put it parts of its body into its mouth. Just like nature's very metal, guys.
Do people eat jellyfish?
So you can. So this is my husband went to South Korea. And when he was in South Korea, he had a soup that the noodles were jellyfish. And he said it tasted really good. Kind of like, you know how like sometimes things taste like nothing, but then take on the flavors of whatever's in it? Kind of like how rice does that. Like, I don't feel like rice itself. Rice, it will take on like most flavor. Tofu takes on any flavor you put into it. Jellyfish, it will take on any flavor. I've never gotten a chance to eat jellyfish. Would I like to? Yeah, I mean, I'm down to eat anything once.
I feel too bad for the jellyfish.
I don't. They have 2 tissue layers. They're not even a 3 tissue layer organism. They only got 2 tissues. You at least have to have 3. That's when I start to feel bad for things, when it has 3 tissues. Okay, so how much of the coral reefs have been affected by bleaching? This is a really good question, mostly because I understand that like we hear mixed messages, I think, between like, is it really bad or is it like okay and have things happen? So I did a little bit of research on it and I found out between 2014 and 2017, that was the last major event that we had. It caused 75% of the world's coral reefs to be stressed to the point that they would bleach. And of that 75%, 30% of that suffered mortality rates and they died out. That 2014 to 2017 was the longest and most widespread stress event that we've had on record. And as of 2020, so the last known numbers, the Great Barrier Reef, so y'all know where the Great Barrier Reef is, off the coast of Australia. It's off the northwestern coast of Australia. 20% of that barrier reef is bleached currently. So that's sad. But then the second question was, can coral recover after bleaching? And that answer is also yes, which is good news because, you know, we sometimes think about it as like they're bleached, they're dead, and they're no longer going to come back. But they can, as long as the stress event is removed. So if the stress event is something like global warming, may not be as easy as overcoming a stress event that is invasive species or human disturbance or overfishing. So if it's like overfishing, then you just get the people to stop fishing. It helps reduce that stress and that coral can come back. If you looked into, so if you read the article on Jellyfish Lake in Palau, which is where my mom is from, it's a small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in Micronesia. Their local government has done a lot of work to get their coral reefs back up to par. They've banned sunblocks that have oxybenzone and oxytinoate. I can't see that. It's like very tiny words. Yep, sure. But anyway, there's 2 sunblocks that are 2 chemicals that are in sunblocks that most, Hawaii I know has banned it, most coastal regions have banned it because it just acidifies the ocean so much that things start to die out. And that is hard to come back from. Woo-hoo. All right, question number 8. I'm gonna get a drink of water because I think I'm dying. I didn't have to yell at my 3rd hour today, so my voice isn't. Thank you. It's what I make my protein shakes out of. Okay. Whew. All right, question number 8. Is there a difference between life expectancies of polyps and medusas? Answer is yes. If you are interested in listening to a podcast about science things that has a really funny lady who cusses a lot, there is a podcast called Ologies. And that one I listened to, she had a medusaologist on there. So this lady studies jellyfish. And she said because she can't get into her lab because of COVID, she had 20 different species of jellyfish just like chilling in her house. So really fun. She said that the polyps can live an extremely long time, like hundreds of years, whereas the medusa don't live as long. I don't know if that has to do with because the polyps are like stationary, they're not really exposed to that many things, whereas medusa can be exposed to a myriad of things as they float around in the water column. I don't know. So that was fun. Question 9. How did coral become so closely intertwined with zooxanthellae? There wasn't exact words that kind of like said that this is how it happened, but coevolution is a thing where 2 organisms find that if they work together, it'll be beneficial for them. I found out that coral found in the early Jurassic period didn't have any relationship with zooxanthellae, and it wasn't until the early Cretaceous period where they actually saw coral that had that kind of relationship. So that's pretty cool that it happened a really long time ago. The largest cnidarian is the lion's mane jellyfish. The lion's mane jellyfish is over 100 feet long, and there can be swarms of this jellyfish in the coastal waters off of Japan. They're massive, kind of scary. And then last question, question number 11, is what was the species that was on Finding Nemo? So on Finding Nemo, if you remember the the sea anemone that they lived in, I looked it up. The sea anemone species that they lived in was Heteractis magnifica, but also known as the magnificent sea anemone, and that is the house of Finding Nemo. But I found that there's like 3 specific species that clownfish will attach to, and clownfish do not need a sea anemone to survive.
What about the jellyfish?
I didn't find that because, to be honest, I didn't look for that. Because I went straight for the house they lived in, not for the bouncy jellyfish. Yeah, right. Didn't think about bouncing on their heads. So maybe I'll look that up and just post it in the announcements because funsies. All right, that's all I got for y'all. I'm going to go ahead and put on our movie.